Hey everyone, so I thought I would come out here and just sort of wing this video. Um, it's been about 6 months since my last video, and I didn't really plan for this next video to be 6 months out, but I just figured I'd make a video while I feel like making one. um, but yeah, happy hump day. It's been almost 6 months. I think tomorrow is the 27th, and I posted my last video on November 27th. Excuse me. Um, but this month is a really cool month. It's almost over, but yeah, it's Mental Health Awareness Month, so I think that's really cool. Mental health is definitely something that's it's a very big topic, really misunderstood. But we've come a long way since how mental health was treated, say, 50 years ago, and a friend actually asked me a question on behalf of mental health and my being trans, so I thought I thought I could talk about that because, in terms of being trans, a lot of the awareness has come, and a lot of the a lot of the acceptance has come for being trans within the past 20 years or so. So definitely we've come a long way with mental health and with LGBT related acceptance and stuff, but there's still a lot of it's still mental health especially is still a really big topic that has a lot to be yeah learned about, I guess. I don't know, but a friend asked me how my transition has impacted my mental health, and I thought that was a really good question because I've certainly struggled with my mental health growing up, and before I even recognized that I was trans, if you will, I did struggle with my mental health. In middle school, I still identified as a girl, and I didn't know that I was trans yet, but I had a lot of things just weighing on my mind, and I didn't really know, how to go about just talking about that with somebody. I didn't feel like I could talk about it with anybody. I didn't, I just, all the experiences that I have had about, of trying to reach out to somebody haven't turned out in my favor. So I just had a really hard time in middle school with, I felt depressed pretty often. And I think my middle school years were honestly the loneliest I've ever felt. And thankfully I don't feel that way anymore. But something that I've found interesting is loneliness is actually super duper common, like too common. Loneliness makes you think that you're the only person that feels that way and that nobody else would get it, but there's too many people that know what loneliness is like. And that's kind of sad. Um, yeah, I think I've heard before that the UK has called loneliness a health crisis. It's like an epidemic or something. The loneliness epidemic. Oof. I don't think we're quite over the big C, so maybe I shouldn't be using the word epidemic, but I used it again. There we go. um, but yeah, so I had a lot of things that I didn't know how to identify and how to talk about. I had a lot of feelings that I didn't know how to, um, be with in the first place. I thought the better thing to do was to stuff those feelings down or to just ignore them. Um, Whatever my feelings were. So I wasn't aware of any discomfort that I felt about my body. As a child, I just felt strange. And I I thought it was strange that I felt strange, I guess, in a way that I just kind of, well, this is my body and it's the body I have to live in. Um, I don't think I ever quite let myself be aware that the problem about my body was the way that it, made me identify, I guess, if that makes sense. So when I realized I was trans, I was almost, I was gonna turn 15 actually. I was about a month away from turning 15, and um, I was, I got, I guess I started contemplating. I wasn't necessarily thinking in a way that I wasn't like planning, like, oh, what should I do? I was getting ready to take a shower, and I was contemplating, like, okay, I'm gonna be 15 soon, and I'm gonna start to, I started just sort of contemplating that I would be facing this adult life soon, and I would be growing into a woman, and I'd be facing womanly things, and my imagination just couldn't fill that in. And then it was like a light bulb moment that went off, and everything made sense in a moment. That was like, whoa! Like all of a sudden, I understood. That what I felt strange about was the fact that I was trying to identify as a girl, and it just wasn't working. So that was the beginning of that journey for me. That was like 8 years ago. And let's see, that was, so 2013, I realized I was trans, and I started hormones in 2016. So it's actually been 5 years. May 11th was my 5-year mark on testosterone. So yay to me. I should have some streamers in here. um, So between the time that I realized I was trans and the time that I could actually do something about it to feel better about my dysphoria, I felt very depressed and very, I was luckily able to, if middle school was the loneliest years of my life, high school was, it just felt like the most sort of, it was just really annoying because I knew what I felt like I needed and I couldn't get it. And that felt very just, I don't know. It kind of, I've just always thought of the evil strawberry video where there's like, I could be describing it wrong, but from what I remember, there's this little kid who's crying over a strawberry, and the strawberry's taunting him about, because he wants the strawberry, and the strawberry's like, I don't freaking remember. But I guess it just felt like something I wanted was so close and so far at the same time. And it was kind of taunting. So that was very, that was kind of taxing on my mental health. I've been very lucky over all of my experience to, my mental health has never been so bad as to have me end up, in like a hospital or anything. But I've never planned for suicide, and I'm immensely grateful to that. But I think it's safe to say, I've thought about it, and when I was much, much, much younger, so it's in my past to an extent where, I mean, it's all of what brought me here, just because I wanted to and I didn't means just as much to me as if, but for my own experience, it was a pretty hard time. I haven't had it as bad as some people that I know, and I haven't had it as wonderful as some people who I know who are, have some better resilience to get through some harder times. But it was a hard time, and so when I was able to start hormones, it was really cool. That year was the year I turned 18. That was 2016, and that was I was a senior that year, so that was the year I graduated high school. And the day I started hormones, well, let's see, the day I met, what's really cool is I went from my pediatric doctor to immediately to the doctor that I've been seeing as an adult has been the doctor that's been in charge of my trans care. So I've been immensely lucky for that. So I started meeting with my new doctor that would see me through my transition in April, and that was really exciting. Everything just finally felt like, like it was going somewhere. Um, and it was really exciting, and everyone just was really worried, about my health and what these risks would be that I would be inviting by, transitioning and taking hormones. And as aware as I was, and no matter what the cost, that first appointment with my doctor felt so just. It was the first step in the right direction. Like, coming out was a step, but, was a step in the right direction, but meeting with my doctor who, being with a doctor who gave me the space to feel comfortable and to feel cared for as a trans patient, and, letting me feel like things were actually moving forward, that really just felt immensely, validating, and things were just starting to, that wasn't the day I started my hormones, but that was the start of something great, because now hormones were in my foreseeable future rather than like a taunt. And so I started hormones on May 11th, and by that time in high school, everybody knew me as, a lot of people knew me before I was Greg, because I came into high school, before transitioning. So I transitioned in the middle of high school, and everybody knew of me as Greg. And when I got my diploma on June 3rd, I had a few little, I don't think I had any facial hair yet, but I'd been about a month on hormones at that point almost, and I was super excited because things were changing, and it was so cool. And yeah, so I mean, from there on up, it's only been positive changes with my transition. Leaving high school and coming into college was some sort of redemption in a way, where I got to move away from that sort of past life, and I got to move into a new experience where people could know about me as much as I wanted them to, and I'm fairly open about these things with people that I trust. I'm not entirely stealth, but it coming into college was a great experience because everybody knew me as Greg, like, from the get. There were a few people, because of legalities, that knew of my circumstances, and thankfully those people were only my roommates, and they were wonderful roommates. So shout out to SSU, to ATL 307. Yeah, Sam State, good old days. But yeah, I mean, I found a lot of acceptance in college, especially as, just coming into myself as being trans, and I came into a space where being blind and being trans were two minorities, but they weren't weird things that, people come from all over I can't speak. People come from all different walks of life, and all over the place in college, and so my minorities in this setting are just one of many, so it was just definitely a different experience for me mentally, and I've come a long way with, college being the space that it has been for me in terms of social acceptance and my mental health, turning around. And this year, I think, has really been the best year in terms of my mental health, because I've really taken advantage of meeting with a counselor. And I have met with a counselor before in high school when I first started my transition. But therapy back then was mainly focused on my transition, and therapy now is focused on just like, anything that comes up. And it's not that I didn't have that space back then, but my major focus was my transition. This was big to me, It's not like I was screaming I wasn't screaming at the top of my lungs, since I was like 2, that I'm a boy. I think as a child, I had the awareness that not many people said things like, I want to be a boy, So I was really just talking out my transition and my feelings about my dysphoria and my gender and all that. And now, therapy is, I love it all the same. Therapy has always been a great experience for the most part for me. So I've just really taken advantage of that this year. I have a really neat therapist that I love meeting with, and I've also been able to take advantage of medication to help with a bit of anxiety. So that's just been really, really helpful in getting me just a bit more, I guess feeling a bit more stable. I'm aware that there's a lot of lifestyle changes that feed into the way my life is working for me now. It's not like I have the healthiest eating habits, and so that feeds into anything that I'm feeling, mentally or physically or whatever. And I do eat better these days than I did in my past, but I'm not exactly jumping up and down for vegetables. But I am working out more, and that's a positive with my mental health. And I've just had wonderful, support from friends um, and family with any of my choices that that I've been able to really account for. Like my family has been supportive of me being on medication because I've been able to be more open with them about my struggles, and about what I'm going through, and just like advocating for my feelings more than just stuffing them down like I've been used to, or avoiding talking about them, or just whatever my habits have been in the past with treating my mental health the way I have before. So I hope I haven't rambled too much. I think I've done okay, but I'm counting on my friends to give me some. Well, I'm counting on anybody to give me constructive feedback. I'm always down for that. So please like, comment, and share at your discretion. I hope this was a good video to watch. Yeah. Cool! Happy hump day, guys. And, yeah. Alrighty, bye, guys. Let's see here. Hang on. Okay.